Hello, and welcome to the Love Your Work Life podcast. I'm your host, Elissa Shuck. Whether you're going for that next promotion, looking for a job, or making a career pivot, I'll teach you how to navigate it all so you can have the career you want. This is Love Your Work Life, episode 84. It is stormy out there, my friends. So stormy. And I'm not talking about the weather. I'm talking about things like feeling safe in a workplace or job market that is really just getting torn apart. There's some crazy stuff going on out there. What if you are working and your team just got gutted, but your workload didn't change? It's all still there. You just have less people to do it. Maybe there's a new initiative that was put on your plate. Raise your hand if that's ever happened. Me, one company I worked for had 6 executive leadership changes in the 6.5 years I worked there. And every one of them had some awesome new initiatives. But you know what? You don't often get additional resources to execute on those initiatives. Tough times. I have been there. That's why I'm calling it stormy weather. There's just so much going on. And when I think of stormy weather, I think of those thunder shirts, that you get for your pet so that they can not have anxiety anymore. Or, they came out with the adult version, those weighted blankets. Both of those are designed to put you into some kind of a rest mode, to take the automatic nervous system responses and calm us down, calm down fear, anxiety, and as they say on the pet version, overexcitement issues. Yeah, that stuff happens. There's kind of storms happening all the time. We know more about them now, partly because we have so much access to information, but the speed and the rapidness with which things are happening and changing right now also just seems to be in some kind of an acceleration mode. I don't know. I guess that would be the opposite of what we were going through when everybody was in lockdown, right? So of course, as my coach Brooke Castillo says, of course there's going to be a 50-50. There's going to be a 50% quiet, everything going great, things changing, things growing, companies chasing business, hiring lots of people. Well, guess what? I think we're on the other side of that 50 right now. And things aren't going that great. Companies are having to course correct. That's my diplomatic way of saying it. When it comes to all these layoffs, there's market corrections that happen in a macro way, but also in a micro way in your life. I spent some of my career in retail, and I'll never forget the one year that I went through a major storm. Now, I worked as a buyer manager in a children's shoes department. So our busy time of year really wasn't the holiday season. It was the back to school season. And it was, like a 4-week massive crazy town time. Now, I took some vacation days just before it was going to start getting nuts, because I knew I needed to be ready for that craziness to support my team and do everything we wanted to do to serve our customers well and make our numbers, have great business results doing it. When I got back on my first day in the store, HR and loss prevention had me pop into the office for a meeting. And guess what? I was informed that 3 people on my team were going to get fired for cheating, just basically cheating, not following the rules in terms of their taking returns on their sales. This is something that they watched, right? Because they were taking commissions that weren't owed to them. But you can imagine my moment that I had because we were going right in to back to school. I was going in 3 people short. There was 0 time to hire anyone to replace them. So let me tell you, my friends, it was a storm. And it was like, buckle up, here we go time in terms of getting things done in a crazy environment that was predictably crazy. We knew it was coming. I did feel like my team just got gutted. Those were people I hired that I trusted. So there was a personal element to it, but there was also just the team element. These were people who were friends with other people on the team. So you can imagine the sort of reverb that had. And we still had to make business happen. So what did we do? Well, we buckled up for the ride, decided to ride the storm out with what we had. And I want to give you some tips on how you can do that if you're experiencing any of the things I've talked about or any of the things that I didn't mention that you might be going through. Could be, working for a narcissist. It could be working for someone that just does not see, value, and appreciate what you do every day. Those things in themselves are also a storm. They might not be a sudden crash. It might just be an ongoing negative weather event that you must navigate. Here's something so interesting. When I looked up Thunder Shirt, which are those little pet vests, I wrote down what they say about their product, what it does. It provides gentle, constant pressure to calm all types of anxiety, fear, and overexcitement issues. And I got so curious about this idea of gentle, constant pressure. It's what that weighted blanket does too. And that's physical. I totally get that. But what would gentle, constant pressure to calm yourself in these stormy situations look like from a thought process, from an approach to it strategically? And I have 3 ideas for you on this. The first one is to be present with your own thoughts instead of avoid them. It's so easy to have those panicky thoughts, the oh my gosh, what am I going to do kinds of thoughts, and divert yourself into a place that just feels better than dealing with those thoughts. Could be avoiding by watching TV. It could be avoiding by shutting down your communication. It could be avoiding by over communicating. Instead of just being present and saying, hey, this is what I'm going to deal with, and I can deal with it. There's always an answer. Always. Now, when I was in that crazy retail situation, I called my fellow buyer managers to see if anybody on their team had time available, could work extra hours. But, that was minimal in terms of availability and staffing that I could replace 3 full-time people on short notice. It just didn't happen. But being present and saying, okay, what can I do with the resources I do have is such a good way to tackle these storms. And when you're present with your own thoughts and you give them space, without indulging in letting it spiral into mind drama and negativity, you will figure things out. Our brains are so good at solving problems, but it takes being present and giving yourself the space to think about possibilities, to roll scenarios around in your mind to come up with solutions. The second one, this goes back to that gentle in the description. Be gentle with yourself. Have your own back. This doesn't mean that you have to run around and make it all positivity and rainbows. I'll tell you, the first thing I did when 3 people were let go from my team is I got my team together as a group, but I also got them together one-on-one and let them know what was happening. I didn't avoid it. I let them know that I had their back and that we were in this together and that I trusted them to make the best of a bad situation. And listen, you knowing that you will make the best of a bad situation and then communicating that to the people you influence, super powerful. It really did change the tone of things. And it turned things into, hey, let's remember what we're capable of. Let's remember the good that we can accomplish together. And on an individual basis, this might look like you in facing that storm, writing out your accomplishments, go back through your year, your month, your week, and write down all of the great stuff you did accomplish. And by great stuff, I'm not categorizing it. I'm saying think of everything as great. Think of everything as great. If you created it and you accomplished it, then there's a little bit of you in there, and that means it's great. And you deserve to give yourself credit for that. Trust me, that's stuff in your back pocket that will help you navigate a storm next time it comes around, because they're coming, right? Like, we can't stop them, but we certainly can prepare for them. Now, the last thing I have for you is to focus on what you can control. And guess what you can control? You. That's about it. You can control your thoughts about the situation, which ultimately will create emotions that'll drive the kind of action that you need to take. When I was faced with that, I had my sweaty moment. I'll tell you. I had my, oh my gosh, what in the world are we going to do moment? But because I was present with my thoughts, because I had my own back and I knew in my heart what I was capable of, and I knew I was all about empowering my people to rise to new levels of contribution, I focused on me. I focused on what I could do and what I could control. Can't control people gaming the system, but I can control what I say, what I think, what I do in the face of that storm. And here's a way I like to think of it. Be the thermostat, not the thermometer. The thermostat changes the environment, right? You set the thermostat and your heat goes on or your air conditioning goes on. The thermometer just reflects our surroundings. The thermometer just tells us what temperature it is. I want you to be the one that is changing the environment. And this doesn't mean that you ignore what's going on, but it does mean, especially if you're the leader, that you set the temp. You set the tone. You create safety in the chaos, creating safety for yourself because you know what you're capable of, and then creating safety, belonging, I call it like, hey, we're going to lock arms right now and make this happen. That's how you do it for your team. Check in with yourself, check in with your people, and do it frequently. Set up those morning meetings. Check in with people if they're looking like they are affected by what's going on. You will not believe how impactful this will be. And I'll tell you this, you would have thought that when you lose 3 people on I don't know how big the team was at the time, maybe 12 people, 15, but I lose 3. I could have looked at it a number of different ways, and trust me, I'm sure I did. Okay, that's 3 people, and I knew how much they sold on a regular basis. I could have looked at it and said, okay, well, I'm just going to have to deal with I'm down 3 people, 20% decrease, because the number of people that I can help on that floor during our busiest time, I can't get to as many of them because I'm down 3. That was a possibility that floated through my mind, but didn't really settle in my mind. And I'll tell you what happened. We had a great back-to-school season. Every single person on that team stepped up in ways that they didn't even know they were capable of. I stepped up in ways as a leader that I didn't even know I was capable of. You can ride the storm out, and you can come out better on the other side. We had an increase that month. We had an increase that back-to-school season. I had increases in a lot of back-to-school seasons. I loved my job. I loved my teams. But there's something especially sweet about that season because we had to dig deep. We had to ride out a storm. And listen, if you're in a storm right now, you just know that you can do it. And I'm in your corner. Be present. Be gentle and have your own back. And that constant pressure that's mentioned in the thunder shirt, that's that focus. That's you controlling what you can control, which is you. All right, my friends, hang in there, and I'll talk to you again soon. If you like this podcast, I invite you to visit the Love Your Work Life website at elissashuck-careercoach.com. On the site, you'll find all the information you need to work with me one-on-one, as well as get access to my courses, Job Search Field Guide, and The Art of Stellar Interviews. I also have lots of other great free and highly accessible resources so that you can have a job search that's stress-free, gets you in front of people, and most importantly, gets you that job offer. I can't wait to help. I look forward to seeing you there.